The story you tell yourself is the story you live. He who controls the story controls the reality.
This is how you create proximity to other people.
Technology is a tool humans use to solve problems.
What you avoid is what controls you.
That I'm going to learn it. I'm going to get to know the enemy. And I'm going to use it for my advantage.
You are what you do.
I'm going to make a proof of concept. It would cost me $250,000. Everything else you see is a product of about 12 or 13 different tools.
Don't overthink it. Just do that.
Your suffering is your best friend. Pain is the great teacher.
They get in their head and then they don't do the freaking post. Our next guest, he is a USC professor. Going to be also teaching at Loyola Marymount University. He is the co-producer from Dune Prophecy, The Walking Dead World Beyond writer, CBS Blood and Treasure. He's got a new project in development at Will Smith's company, Overbrook Entertainment, called The Last Tiger. This writer, producer, specialist, creative, intellectual, magician comes via my partner, Narita Vega. And we're very excited. And I'm just meeting him today for the first time. We're talking, yes, but I'm actually just meeting him for the first time today. We're super excited to have him with the, let's bring out here, Siavash Farahani.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Hello. Hi. Yeah.
So welcome. We have a...
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be amazing. They're all actors and stunt performers and stunt actors, action actors. Depending on who they're talking to, they're going to say that they're an action actor or a stunt professional or an actor, all of the above, A, B, C, D, and they're filmmakers. We've got recurring actors on different shows. Taj is a recurring. Tomoko has her own theater company, comes from classical dance. Freddie John James just produced his own movie. John just did his own short. Athena just did her own sizzle for her film that she's pitching. They're in it, right? Some of them in the beginning stages, some of them have been up and down, some of them are more consistent with their work. So that's who we're in front of today. And you come to us with this wealth of knowledge, and especially segueing into what you have for AI. So because these guys are here to stay, I think, do you think it's okay to kind of lead off?
Yeah. Let me I'll just give you just like a overview of it so you have some context. So about a year ago, had an idea I just saw a picture, and as soon as I saw this picture, which was a picture of a monster, and it was being held by this like old woman in some medieval context, and she was just hugging him, and he was just like, and on the bottom, the caption said, "A mother's love," and I was like, "Oh shit! Like that's me. My mom loves me no matter how monstrous I am." And then it was like, "Oh wait, like that's like everyone's mom, like Hitler's mom. Well, not Hitler, not Trump, but other monsters." That's their villain arc. So anyway, I had this whole idea, and so I wrote the script and everything, and it's something I wanted to direct as like my first feature. But like these guys were saying, it's not enough to just be a fucking writer or director or producer. You have to do everything. And so as I was trying to figure out how to do this, and I've been dabbling in AI here and there, just kind of hesitant at first. Is this going to take away my job? Is this like all the environmental aspects of it, all the very valid hesitations about AI? But, I'm also kind of like a 48 Laws of Power, Robert Greene kind of survivalist. And so I just decided that I'm going to learn it. I'm going to fucking get to know the enemy, and I'm going to fucking use it for my advantage. And I'm going to make a proof of concept that if I try to make, it would cost me $250,000 for a 3-minute trailer, and you'll see why. And the trick was, if you've dabbled with AI, it's not like you can just go and just like make me a movie, make it funny. Like it's not like that. It's a whole process, especially if you're trying to get something that looks cinematic, if you're trying to have some performances. So the only live element here that you'll see, which AI cannot, at least for the foreseeable future, replace, is the voiceover that my friend, who's a great actress, did, that brought to the project the humanity it needed. And then I built it around that. But everything else you see is a product of about 12 or 13 different tools. Some are already outdated. I mean, this just was finished about a month and a half ago. But in that span, 2 or 3 new iterations of these programs have come out that now solve entire bottlenecks, which means increased performances, believability, resolution. So I'm pretty happy with what came out, but I already can see I can make this at least 30% better just from the tools that are available now, which means 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, this isn't some fad. This is not going away. This isn't some like whatever. This is like the invention of electricity. And you can just be like, no, but I like candlelight because it's like fucking candly. Great. You can still use candles. I have plenty in my fucking house. Not a substitute for electricity. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that. I just wanted you to have a context for what it is that you are seeing, and then I'll shut up.
Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I don't know who I am anymore. Some days, I don't even want to wake up. All I ever wanted was to be a mother. I failed.
What happened wasn't your fault.
There goes Mother Misery.
That woman's a curse.
Have you thought more about my offer?
For the last time, my land is not for sale.
In the end, I always get what I want.
Keep faith. God has a plan for you.
You've already taken everything from me. So take my life. Or give me a new one. Poor little guy. You're starving. Where's your mama? Just can't leave you here to die, can I? Thank you for this miracle. You put him in my path to raise as my own. I won't let you down. I think I'll call you Theodore. A gift from God. Oh, Peanut, I love you. They say you can't change the nature of a thing, but I've seen his soul.
Some delicious cookies.
Nom, nom, nom. Mama.
Holy Mother, help me raise this boy right. He never hurt anyone. You didn't have it coming. He's not a monster. He's my son. Grief makes you do strange things. I love you. Be everything
I'm sure you guys have seen the headlines. You have questions like, well, yeah, what does this mean for me? Right? And that's why we were talking on the phone with him yesterday about, his perspective. And we were like, yes, that's the perspective that they need to have, that you're not seeing headlines on this perspective that we believe is so valuable, because you can't be afraid. We started this morning, what you avoid is what controls you. And so when you're afraid and you avoid this, then your decisions aren't made from your free mind. It's made because of that thing that you're afraid of and you're avoiding, and that will control you. So,
what you resist persists.
Yeah.
That's the version that I've heard of that.
Absolutely.
Very true thing. And to be fair, we also discussed cheese and cats. And I think was equally important topics. Just wanted to. I'll give you kind of like how we got here, how it was that I joined the circus. So I was born in Iran in the late whenevers, when there was a revolution and a war, and my parents thought it was a good time to make babies. And so they made two of us. And so we grew up at a time where there was a lot of intensity. The regime was cracking down on all kinds of people, dissidents, kind of a full-blown police state, like the one we're about to experience. No, so that's fine. It's fine. I'll keep it optimistic. Hope. What you resist persists. What you resist persists. And so we escaped as refugees, and we left Iran by way of like a whole thing of Turkey, Germany, fake IDs, passports, all that shit, and got to Norway, of all places, where half the year is night and very cold. But a beautiful country, a beautiful people, and just the kind of nurturing care that we needed to find our footing. But it was crazy because we lived in these different camps. It's like we lived in a Red Cross camp. One of the camps was like a ship that was like a cruise ship that was like docked, and there's all these people from basically we've had the same origin story. This is how we became villains. We'll have an arc. That's how we'll redeem ourselves in season 5. And so that experience was very transformative. Now, throughout all this, I mean, my mom was a literature major, my father's an engineer, but my uncle's a writer, actors. So I grew up with a lot of books and reading comic books. And at that time in Iran, all that stuff was illegal. It was hard to find. Like, we literally had a dealer that would come to our house, like on a motorcycle with like a bag. And then he had like, these are the 20 movies I have. And my parents, thankfully or not thankfully, had no like sense of like, this is not like age appropriate. So I'm watching it all. Like probably the most monumental one was, which I'm sure you guys are all fans of, is Enter the Dragon. That was like, whoa. That and Disney's Robin Hood, I think permanently, and Aristocats. Those three things permanently, or in the best way, and the Tintin comic book. So I grew up just, and the TV was all police state propaganda. So my parents would just be like, here, read Charles Dickens, read Mark Twain, read Alexander Dumas, read Hemingway. So like by the time I was 10, I had read way more than a child should read or see. And so that was all internalized. And then now add to that this experience of meeting all these different refugees from around the world, because this was in the late whenevers, when, there were refugees from Eastern Europe, there were refugees from East Asia, Africa, all over the world. And so it was a true melting pot, like I remember I played the piano. I was a classically trained piano player. And I remember in one of these hotels that we stayed, it was like this very idyllic place in Norway by coast. There's like jellyfish, and there was this family, and they had these two beautiful daughters, Polish girls, and they looked like angels. And one was like 1 year younger than me, and one was 1 year older than me. And I was like, that's like my whole jam. For as long as we're staying here, I want to know them. But they were Polish and only spoke Polish, and we were Iranian and only spoke Farsi, and everybody else spoke Norwegian. So it was like, but I remember playing a piece of Chopin, and that connected to them because the father started crying, and I was like, I won over the father. I'm in. I learned a valuable. If you learn nothing else, win over the father. And that was like a, beautiful kind of like idyllic moment in the middle of all this chaos and craziness, which is life, right? Like that is the experience of life. It's the simultaneous horror and beauty. It's that brutality and that tenderness that coexists. And that, if you are here today, you have been touched by some version of that. You have had your own villain origin story. I'm willing to bet if I put you in the seat and probe a little bit, I'll find a significant traumatic event that shaped who you are. Mostly that's true of most humans. But if you're here, you didn't turn that into a destructive force because that is your choice. That is an energy that you can harness for good or for bad. And you've chosen to create with it, which is why you're here. And that suffering has made you empathetic, which is the number one tool that an artist needs in order to connect. And I'll tell you some more thoughts about that. Your life and your art are not separate. They are one and the same, as far as I'm concerned. And by the way, everything I say, it's my opinion, and I'm wrong about a lot of things. So, take that with a grain of salt. But for me, what I do is not separate than who I am. There is no distinction between those two things. And therefore, it is very important for me, in order to survive and have the resilience to have a career with lots of ups and downs. I mean, I've been doing this professionally. I sold my first script at 20 when I was an undergrad at USC. First script I ever wrote, I ended up selling. So you can imagine that skyrocket, kind of like the kind of inflated sense of ego, but also the pressure and all those other things. In that 25 years, my career has died at least 3 times. I mean, flatlined. I mean, like, broke, what am I going to do next? Flatline. And each of those dips was followed by a peak higher than the one before. And that is now the rhythm of my life. I no longer react that much to the house being on fire. In fact, I've learned that I do much better under pressure. Pandemic was peak me time. The most creative focus, because I didn't have like FOMO, I didn't have to go anywhere, I didn't have to see anyone. Adopted 3 cats, and it was like, see you later, world. Like, this is all I'm gonna do. And so I think some of you I could see are also adrenaline junkies, and you kind of know how to use those emotions to transmute them into something. And to me, that is, alchemy is not the art of turning any metal to gold. It's the art of turning shit to gold. Shit, like shit. As in feces. Like, it's like cow dung. Yes, I'll make you an AI version of it. I'll animate it for you.
Color, density, I need to know.
Thank you, everyone. I think good talk. See you later. And so I think that is the alchemy. Let me ask you something. If you had to look back and think about human civilization, what would you say is the most powerful technology? And let's define technology. Technology is a tool humans use to solve problems. That's all it is. What would you say is the most powerful tool humanity has ever invented? The internet, what was that?
A lever.
I'm sorry?
A lever.
A lever? Electricity?
Yeah.
Light? Well, light we didn't create, but you mean like electric light or fire?
Stories.
Fire.
Language? What else? Stories. And I'll tell you why. Because it is the first one that we invented. The atomic bomb is powerful, but the atomic bomb only exists because there is a story that the scientists, a narrative they were following that required them to invent the atom bomb. A story is why a country or government would ever deploy an atomic bomb or use it as a threat. And so before that, yeah, it's electricity, and before that is the written word or the printing press, and before that is language, fundamental. But we know this for a fact, this is not my opinion. There are cave paintings where man before, and when I say man, I mean humankind was drawing on the cave walls. What were they drawing? Bison over there, mammoth over there, like, you know, fire good, like beware of ice. Well, not, I didn't mean that way, but also that's, I meant like tundra, but like, they warned you. It was all on the wall back then. But they're communicating, they're telling each other stories. It's that story that told them tundra cold, harness fire. The invention of fire, language, all of those things came from a story. Now, stories are not just what we observe about the world. It's not just how we describe what's happening outside of us. The most important narrative you tell is the one you tell yourself about who the you think you are. And I'm going to underline that, who the you think you are. So the story you tell yourself about who you are is a story you have inherited from your parents, from your society, from your family, from your successes, your failures, your fears, and they have shaped you all throughout the world. And I strongly believe that the story you tell yourself is the story you live. I 100% believe, I had a great teacher and a man named Wayne Dyer who changed my life in a very crucial moment, one late night when in one of those dips when everything seemed like it was over, and I found him on PBS, which is, you know, one of our former national treasures. And there he was talking about this thing called the power of intention, which I don't know if you've ever seen this 4-hour free gift that he gave to the world, but you should. And some really important realizations were had at that point, which is who I am is separate than my ego. My ego is the story I tell myself about who I am, what I can do, what I can't do, or whatever. But what I actually am is a fragment of the cosmic light that created everything else. And therefore, the fullness of the universe is in me. And yet, I am of it, and it is of me. I'm not superior to it by any measure, but I'm not lacking by any measure. You look into a microscope or a telescope, you're going to see an infinity of space. You won't be able to tell the two things apart. And you are made of all that same starlight, stardust. And so the story you tell yourself about who you are, what you're capable of, that will be the reality that you will experience. People will tell you, or they'll ask, is a glass half full or is the glass half empty? And it's a false premise. The glass is whatever you think it is. If you think that glass is half empty, you come from a perspective of lack, of fear. There's a shortage. Yeah, there's water in that, but it's not enough. That is not just an attitude about you have about that glass. That is an attitude you carry with you in almost every situation that you're in. And if you have the perspective that that glass may not be all the way full, but there is water in it, and there's enough water in it to sustain me until I get the next glass of water, then you are approaching it from a perspective of abundance, which is love. You only ever have two choices in this life: fear and love. And you can use them in different measures with the results that you get. But the good news about this terrifying roller coaster of life that you're in with all its ups and downs is that you are co-creating your reality. It's not all up to you. It's not like you're just going to sit there and you're just going to manifest exactly the life you want. And then you're like, how come I can't? It's not like that. It's a give and take. You are co-creators in your life. The universe has its own energy. And it's in that collision of your energy and the energy of the universe and everyone that you meet that the alchemy happens. But in all that, you do not have a choice over what happens to you. The only choice you have is, what are you going to do about it? Who are you going to be in the light of this thing that's happening? What does this situation bring out the worst in you? If your trauma, lack of love, or whatever turns you into a fucking stormtrooper, where you wake up and you put on a fucking mask and you go kidnap people for a fucking living and separate children from their parents or whatever because you think that makes you a tough guy, that makes you a hero, and you call yourself a fucking whatever you call yourself. By all means, that's your story. And that's the narrative you're going to be in. But if you're in that same world and you choose to give people a lending hand, you choose to forget your own pain and uplift others, that's the life you're going to live. And so the great illusion is this idea of separation. It's more than an illusion. It's a paradox. It's a contradiction. Everything seems separate, but we are one. Everything seems like there's a duality to it. Positive charge, negative charge, light, dark, fear, love. There are dualities for sure, but they're part of one thing. And so the thing that I want to impress upon you is you have control over yourself and who you want to be. And if you control your narrative, he who controls the story controls the reality. And I'll say this about the creature that is leading us at this moment. He's very clear about the narrative that he tells himself to the point of excluding actual reality. And he has brought the manifestation of that, like Stalin did, like Hitler did, all throughout history. There's no shortage of it. It's a testament to the power of the narrative. And the problem with the world is the people who are the best of us doubt themselves because they're not ruled by their ego or their narcissism. And that somehow becomes their Achilles heel. That becomes their weakness. And all the fools are super certain themselves, and they seem to succeed simply because they have clarity of narrative. So what I want you to think about is, what is the story of you? Why do you want to be an actor? Why do you want to do stunts, make movies, tell stories? For what? To what end? You want to be rich? You want to be famous? You want to be rich? I would say become a plumber now, because that's just about the only skill left that it's going to take a while for the robots to replace. You want to be famous? Get an OnlyFans, get an OnlyFeed account. But if you are driven and touched by the pieces of art and beauty in the world that have moved you, and you want to reflect that, then join us in the circus. And when you join the circus, you let go of all that structure, because you're now serving something much fucking higher, provided that it's not your ego. Your suffering is your best friend. Pain is the great teacher. I have learned nothing from success except gluttony and laziness and narcissism and being self-satisfied. Everything I've learned from pain and from failure, because that's what crushed my ego. And that's what allowed me to rise above, be reborn, and transform, which in the end is the hero's journey. If you read Joseph Campbell, if you know about the myth of that story, that is the cycle of life. You're born into a set of circumstances. You leave those circumstances, you go out into the world fucks you up, you change, you grow, you come home crawling, wiser, better. That's the cycle. And that is not separate than your art. That is your art, and that is your life. And so the final piece of that is, what are you going to do it for? If all that was to just serve yourself, then I think you kind of missed the point of the whole journey. You have to figure out a way. The reason why you do what you do is important is because it touches other people. I saw this quote from John Steinbeck that I'll share with you in a little bit. That it's been on my mind the last few days. But throughout all this uncertainty, and we can talk about technology and AI and all that stuff, and the details of how to live in this world and survive, and your careers and your jobs, like the practical part. But for me, it all starts in this ideation. For me, the results you're going to get is based on this narrative that you set yourself up, and you're going to repeat that again and again and again. So find something to do it for. It could be a person you love, or a feeling, or whatever. Find something greater than yourself. For each of us, the answer will be something different. But because everything is a paradox, it will always be the same. Because it will be some form of love. Because that's all there is. That's all there is. I mean, there is the opposite of that. But in the end, I mean, and by the way, you want to tell that story, you can do that too. That is also part of the creation, and that's part of the beauty and the yin and yang that balance it all in the end. And so that is my spiel on stories.
You can go home now. Wow, that was. I'm so glad we have that. I don't even want to move away from that, but we need to. There was something that you put so beautifully for us on the call when you summed it up in terms of what you're doing with AI, the fear that people have. What is it that it means now for their purpose and what they're doing, and your summation all came back to storytelling is never going to go away. Can you shed some light on that, Sam, in terms of the details? Because I thought it was so clear the way that you explained it. I felt they need to hear.
Yeah, I'm happy to share that. If you know the history of cinema, you know that cinema is an art form born of technology. Without the camera, there is no cinema. And without the still photo, there would be no film camera 20 years before that. And so I started to think about, if you were a painter in like the late, mid 1850s, whatever, something like that, and you spent all your life learning these amazing brushstrokes and shadow work and detail and studied all the masters, and you can render a fruit like it really is there. And here comes some asshole with a contraption, and he just like clicks a button, and it's like, oh, you mean this apple? That artist must have been like, your gadget, evil contraption. This is a fad. This is never going to, because people are going to appreciate art. Photography exists. Painting exists. When movies came out, theater actors were like, blasphemy, burn them all. Theater got to live. Movies got to live. When sound came, the silent stars were like, blasphemy, burn it all. Television, radio, internet, phone, whatever. And AI is just another one of those fucking things. You go online right now and watch thousands, bazillions of everyone thinks they can make a fucking movie. Good. I'm fucking glad. Because now let's see who can actually make a movie. Now let's see who are the artists. You're going to see, there's going to be a pendulum swing. People are going to see so much fucking shit that they're going to hunger for the real fucking thing. And the real fucking thing, and they're going to go to live events because they're going to want to see people. So you're going to see a research. The human nature is always, this is another great book by Robert Greene's Human Nature. Human nature will always go towards the thing wherever the pendulum is not. And so you're going to see this resurgence of desire for connection and people and authenticity, and eventually it will reach a equilibrium again. It will balance out, and the two things will become a hybrid and this and that. Now, a note on the people who created this technology. They don't have the best of intentions, because their intentions is to use their technology for whatever little man dreams they have of controlling everyone and, I don't know, being in a room by themselves. I don't know exactly what that story goes. Half of them are on ketamine anyway, so they're not really thinking. But if you are, let's say, a business-minded type whose wet dream is to hit a button and just make movies that makes you a millionaire, I'm here to tell you, because a year ago, I needed you to make a movie. I don't need you now. I actually don't need you. I don't need, not you, them. I actually need you. I need artists. I need filmmakers. I'm not a production designer. I did my best, but I'm not a production designer. If I had a production designer, he could do wonders with the same tools that I learned over the course of 8 months. I'm not a cinematographer. I know enough about it, like our guests were saying before, which I thought was so insightful, everything they said, but also this thing about having to learn all these other crafts. That's what allowed me to do it, because I went to film school. I know how to edit. I know camera lenses. I know how to get the look that I want. But it's not the artist I don't need. Who I don't need are the gatekeepers. Who I don't need are the fucking empty suits. And by the way, let me distinguish that. There are tons of people working in studios, studio executives, agents. They're all artists. Their collaboration matters. They have great taste. This is not to disparage anybody who even has a business job or a line producer or practical. When I say I don't want to, it's not like that. It's a collaboration. What I'm talking about are the people at the very top who simply make decisions about profit without regard to the people that are making them rich and profitable, and exploiting that profit without compensating the artists correctly. So if right now you're on the receiving end of that, don't worry, the pendulum will swing. Just keep focusing on the thing that you're doing. Learn it, master it, and find the problem that you can solve. Find the problem areas. What is it that AI can't yet do? How can I not be replaced by it? And then build relationships. Exactly what you're doing here. What you chose to do today on your Sunday is to basically attend a church dedicated to your craft. You have committed yourself in actual action. If there is an overlap between this, and I assure you it's not coordinated, it's because our paths have brought us to the same realization. And that is the closest thing in a scientific method where you can be like, that's a tested theory. It may not be the whole truth, but there's truth in it. And you'll probably hear it echoed again and again today. And so if there's one thing that you take away, what is your story going to be? What do you want your story to be? Who are you? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? How can you get better? Your goal, and I always tell this to all my students, your goal should be incremental daily improvement. Do one thing better today than you did yesterday. And make that be, and that could just be you take out the trash earlier. Whatever. But measurable, tangible.
For those of you that know me really well, do you think we're gonna get along now?
Excuse me. Don't steal my
You just said coming to church. My new coaches and mentors, Like they put it so eloquently, but basically coaching has become the new ministry because people are lost. But when you pay for coaching, like you listen, you pay attention, and then what you do, you become new beliefs, ideas, perspectives, right? And just you're like right on the same wavelength. Like, ooh, beautiful. Yeah, everything you've said has been beautifully said.
I have learned that from other people. Wayne Dyer book, all those books my parents made me read, all those movies, all those filmmakers, all those artists. And so that's where the duty comes in. I have been handed a torch. And it's not really for me to decide how that torch emanates, what it lights or what it doesn't. I've had many projects not go my way. These are very difficult times. I don't want to sugarcoat any of that. It's not like I'm sitting pretty and so I'm just sitting. Every day is a hustle. Every day is a grind. Every day is an existential do or die. I shit you not. And you know how I feel about shit. I don't. But that's all the more reason then to anchor yourself to that higher goal and not ask a lot of questions about how you're being used. You may, and when I say used, I mean by the universe. You might think success for you professionally would mean steady income, recognition, acknowledgement. Those things are all nice. But in my book, that's not success. Because there's plenty of people who are doing that. Somebody name drop a very famous filmmaker whose legacy will be that he's a piece of shit at the end of the day. And he won't be known for his works or this bubble. This decision of how you live your life and what it is that you are willing. You know, when I was making Theos, I was thinking what makes a person is not what they love so much. It's what they're willing to die for. That's the real measure of something. You know what I mean? Like I love a lot of things. But would I die for my cats? I'd die for my cats. Would I die for cheese? Definitely. Would I die about arguing like about this color versus that color or what? Probably not. And so then that becomes the measure of who you are. And so what I want to tell you is you're already a success. You're a success because in a world of followers and people who are afraid of their own shadows and a world that constantly tells you what not to do and not to be and who to follow and blah, 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 blah. I mean, you know, for a land of individuals and liberty and home of the brave, there's a sea of cowards who wake up every fucking day and they just do whatever the machine wants them to do, whatever that machine is. Even before AI, they're doing it. And some of it is circumstances. Some of it is not their fault, you know. But success in my book is having the courage to follow your calling. Joseph Campbell, Hero with 1,000 Faces, The Hero's Journey, he had at the end of, you know, he's an anthropologist who studied humankind and story and cultures back to prehistoric times and find all the commonality. And in the end, he reduced it to 3 words. Follow your bliss. Follow your bliss and you'll be aligned with your higher purpose. Do the thing that makes you happy. You're here for a short time anyway, shorter than any of us think. Or sometimes even longer than you want. You have no choice about any of those things. What are you going to do? How are you going to go chase that thing that you love today? Desire is not enough. What are you willing to sacrifice for it? How are you willing to fight for it? And what or who are you going to serve with it? These are the only things you should be focused on all day long. And then let the world spin and let technology come and empires collapse and wars and earthquakes and fires. And that's part of it. But if you stay attuned to that, you'll always have your North Star. And then it's easier to be creative. And I'll tell you a secret. The world starts opening to you. I have never had an easier time. For a long time, I had an imposter syndrome about, I could always write. That's what got me into college. I wrote a poem when I was in fourth grade, and my uncle told my mom I'd be a writer. But it wasn't the thing that I wanted. I wanted to direct, and writing was always something that was on the side. And I think it's because it was difficult. But after I sold that first script, I was forced to write. I was basically given a career as a writer that I didn't want. And the whole time I'm like, how can I write to become a director? How can I write to become a director? And I'll tell you this, I know this now. Had I directed a movie then, I would have fucked it up, because my priorities, everything was, I didn't know enough to make a movie. And so writing has saved me because it's helped me find myself. So what I encourage all of you to do is to learn the art of storytelling. Really learn it. I don't care if you're a producer or an actor or a stunt coordinator. Going back to Enter the Dragon, my favorite part of that movie is in the opening scene. I mean, there's so many things, but it's when Bruce is teaching a student how to throw a punch. And the guy throws a punch. And he's like, it's not a punch. It's the emotional content of the punch. It's the feeling behind it. Stories are not cerebral. Movies are not cerebral. They're emotional. This is the craft, the art of feelings. Yours, but also others. What makes people tick? How does this person behave outwardly when they feel internally? How does this person, let's just bring it since this is, how does this person kick? Is there doubt in their face when they kick? Or is it certainty? Or is it the look of practice? Is it a psychopathic kick that's meant to just be deadly? Or is it says something about that, right? And so the more you become in tune with yourself, the more the world will open up to you, and characters will speak with you, and then you can be inhabited like a vessel. One of my great teachers taught me that. I had writer's block. I had been paid by a studio to write a movie, and I fucking choked, and I didn't know, and I was stuck. And I would go and I would teach classes at USC and then come home at night and just stare at the blank page and know that I've already spent the money and there's no like going back, and I'm stuck. And I talked up a storm about how I was going to do this, and I did it with the right intentions, but I fucking panicked. And so I pulled this professor who used to be my professor when I was there, and he said, there's no such thing as a writer's block. What you're experiencing is resistance, which took me a little bit to understand. There's a great book called The War of Art. I highly recommend that book to you. But what I understood is that what I thought was a blockage or some kind of curse was really fear, a failure, of being a fraud, of the emotional weight of all the things that brought me to that point. And the only way out of it was to just work through it. I was like, I'm just going to, listen, they paid me for a script. They didn't necessarily pay me for a good script, is what I told myself. So the only way I'm going to get the rest of that money is if I finish this. And the only way I'm going to do that is one sentence at a time. So today I'll write a shitty sentence. And then tomorrow I'll make it slightly better. And then I'll write one more or two more shitty sentences. And then I'll hopefully have 60 pages of feces. But they are countable, measurable amount of feces. And then you improve it a little bit. I thought we were going to talk about cheese, but no. Feces. But that was a left turn, surprise. That gradual improvement of the script helps you break through the impasse, through the fear, that sense of just becoming a little bit better every day, and put aside your fucking fear. this idea that you're a success or failure, or you're talented or you're not, or whatever, it's whatever you think it is. No one's going to come and be like, you're an artist now. By the time they tell you that, it's too late because you already are. You don't actually need their fucking validation. And if you're living to get that thing, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons in the fucking first place. I didn't choose the circus. 100% it chose me. I had no choice. I loved it, and there's nothing else I want to do with my time or life. And plan A is to work in the circus. Plan B is to work in the circus. And plan C is to die working for fucking the circus. Ups, downs, this, that, all the other fucking things that come with it. So it's just love the fucking beast. And go inside and spend your energy aligning with your higher purpose. That's it. What's that?
I think that's so cool what you're saying. It's the only thing is that not very exit. If you got confidence lost, stuntman, if you're not prepared, don't do it. You don't get lucky for pay. You gotta have ready. You know, you do a stunt and say, I'm not ready, but I get paid, just do it. I think to kill you, you know. Yeah. You cannot have a bad script. You know, you can have a bad script and get paid, but I think your best stunt you get hurt. Yeah. And you sure you're ready.
100%. 100%.
Wow. Wow. Okay, we don't have all day.
You literally answered all of the questions that I had and didn't know I was going to ask. You answered them all. So I don't know if you guys have any questions, but go. And then we're going to go for lunch.
And I just wanted to ask you something that you said that really resonated with me a lot when you said that we're all connected. And then we have, like when you see like with a microscope, whatever, like you'll see all of this universe, all of this world. It was something that make you realize that, or did you read any book or someone told you this, or like how do you get to this realization that we're all pretty much God and like we have that, like we're all connected that way?
Marijuana helped.
Yeah. Mushrooms.
Look, there's a lot of things. It's not it. It's the sum total of my experiences. But I think at that point in my life, and I am not somebody who's smoked for very late in my life for a brief period. But what happened is that you know how you suddenly food tastes better or you can hear yourself or whatever. I heard myself, I saw myself. And simultaneously I discovered Wayne Dyer and I got into meditation. And one of the things that happened is I would smoke a joint and then I would meditate. And the effects of it that were positive were very short-lived. Soon it turned into paranoia and can't breathe and all these other fucking things and loss of memory and shit like that. But what I realized is that the meditation took me to the same place, actually, that the marijuana did, when on a good day. And so the meditation became the daily practice. And so I think, and this particular form of meditation that Wayne Dyer did is a vocal meditation. I think for people, sometimes meditation is difficult. It's called Meditations for Manifesting. You can download it. It's so you meditate, you say, use the sound ah in the morning to meditate, and use the sound om at night to meditate on gratitude. In the morning, you just visualize some things you want to manifest or experience. That cycle of pure intention, because when you're making that vocalization, it's hard for your mind to have the chatter. It's hard to have your brain like blah, blah, blah. It focuses it, right? And every single time I would have an epiphany when I had the meditation. And little by little, it all became clear. The first thing that became clear is the duality of everything has a duality. And then it was the realization that all the two things are one thing. And if all the two things are one thing, then all the two things are one thing.
Hi. Kelly Pantaleone. I think this has been so inspiring. I would love to know how you got involved with Dune and what was your highlight of working on that movie?
Actually, I worked on the show. I worked on the Dune Prophecy for HBO. I have been working writer for some time. Me and my sister work together a lot. She's my writing partner at times. And so she had written a great show that we sold to Amazon. And anyway, we staffed on a couple of shows, and then we had this opportunity, and she was a great, she's almost like a scientist when it comes to Dune. She's a walking encyclopedia of the world. And I was like a little bit later to it to learn it, and then fell in love with it and its political message, its ecological message. And specifically, it's one of the few things that actually gives visibility to Middle Easterners. Even though it was written by a white male American, he kind of understood, and he was felt seen. And so then, talking to the producers and the showrunners, there was a connection, and we worked on it. It was a difficult process. I won't bore you with the details of it, but that's how it came to be, and I'm proud to have played a role in it. And everything you work on changes you in some way, So that the greatest thing about Dune is fear is the mind killer, that mantra. And I remember some incident had happened. I'd had like a arrhythmia, kind of like a heart racing issue a couple of years ago, and it would happen just out of nowhere. And I thought it was like my heart was beating 200 beats. I thought it was going to like explode out of my chest. And I'd gone to the ER for it a couple of times, and what they basically do is they stop your heart. Like they just give you so I remember in that fucking moment, when the ambulance came, I was in the back of the ambulance, and they were just going to administer it right there in front of my house in the fucking street. And I remember just seeing the paramedic inject it. And then he said to the other guy, "It's not working." And I'm like, and so my mind immediately went to the fears the mind killer mantra. And I just, and it's a technique of visual. What's powerful about it's not the words, it's a technique of visualization, manifestation, because it shows you fear and it allows you to go through you. And then you look back at it as though it's now behind you. And so Dune gave me a lot of gifts and challenges, but that's what I'm grateful for, at least that aspect of it. Yes. I think the paramedics and the medicines, I think, played a big role too. But at least it helped me calm my mind and not things.
So, they touched Jordan, recurring role on Bel Air. So I'm very excited for you for the last time with Will. My question is, when you're looking at emerging actors or creatives, like what qualities or things that signal to you that they're worth of somebody supporting or champion early on?
What qualities? Say that again.
Oh yeah. So
what qualities makes me want to champion someone early on? That's a really good question, because this also happens with my students, and sometimes I collaborate with them. And I've been lucky to have some students who have gone on to have some great success. One of them, Austin Kolodny, just wrote Dead Man's Wire for Gus Van Sant, and so he's getting a bunch of acclaim now. Joel Taylor was my student. Joel Taylor did They Clone Tyrone. Stephen Capel was my student. His first movie, The Land, he wrote in my class. So I'll tell you, it begins with humility. It's one of the things I've learned from that book, The War of Art, by Stephen, I forget his name, Pressfield, who I got to meet. He was awesome. Because one of my students when I mentioned that I happened to work with him and I got to meet him. It was awesome. But one of the things he talks about is the opposite of a creative person is a fundamentalist person. So he says in that book that a terrorist or a fundamentalist is really an egomaniac, somebody who lives like this, where the creative type lives with open arms, open energy, and this and that. So when I have students, I spend the first 30 minutes getting to know them, and very quickly I can kind of read them. I can see what they need, what they're lacking, what they're at, and how they kind of present themselves. And most importantly is their relationship with their ego, which to me is the narrative that they are telling themselves. The ones who are open, who are flexible, who are here to learn, which unfortunately or fortunately tends to be much more apparent in my female students. My female students, almost without exception, come ready to work, come with an open heart. They're not there to prove anything. They're not there for an ego fight. They're there to support everyone. They have that Zen's beginner's mind. My male students come with a variety, not all of them, but many come with a sense of resistance. They want to prove something. They already know something. And it's like, why are you even in a fucking class? Why are you taking a class? Go fucking make the fucking thing. Maybe I'll learn from you. Maybe you know something. What's that? Well, yeah, you were there. You were there. And these are really, really talented kid. And I don't think he meant it in that way. But for me, it's like, there's a door, buddy. It's such a fucking weird thing for you to do. So you sign up for a class here with Mike, and then you're like, no, I don't want to do it like that. I want to do calligraphy. It's like, okay, well, fucking go do a calligraphy class. Like, you didn't pay for this fucking experience. But what I'm not going to do is sit here and just tell you the thing. I'm not like your fucking waiter. Like, I'm not here to. So that to me is one of the most important things in any creative type, because you have to spend time with them. You have to work. I need to know there's communication and there's mutual respect, and that person has the self-awareness and that has their ego in check in order to collaborate. Because if that quality is not there, I don't care how talented you are. Talent to me is shit. Talent is dime a dozen. I care about craft. I care about discipline. I care about commitment. I care about passion. I can always tweak a shot or figure out a way to get the performance I want and post or this and that. But spending 6 months, a year of my life working with a psychopath, I've done way too much of that too. So that to me is the number one side. And chances are that person is going to have more skills because they have positioned themselves to absorb more and to learn. So I look for that Zen's beginner. In Zen, there's this concept, which is the beginner's mind. But when you see filmmakers like, it's the guy who did Mad Max, I love him, George Miller. When he made Fury Road, when he was 80 something, right? That's a monster of a fucking thing to do. And to make a blockbuster movie, says something, and has some, you know what I mean? It's got a lot. It's not just a successful blockbuster. It's high art. To do that at his age, and then you see an interview with him, you're like, yeah, that makes sense, because you can see his soul. You can see he has that alignment. He's got that. He's attuned with the world. That's for me more important than anything else. They have to have skills, but that's the first thing. If that's not there, I can't. If you're unteachable, not able to collaborate, or me, to me, it's the opposite of creativity. It's dead end. Life is too short.
Oh, good. Guys.
Guys, let's give it up for Siavash.